Hey everybody, Mr. Undesirable, your least desirable YouTube commentator, and I'm here bringing you some more mods for Fallout New Vegas. This time we'll be going over a few gameplay enhancements and actually a menu that's almost necessary to have to play with any Fallout New Vegas mods of real caliber. So what I'd like to bring up first is that I'm using a mod called iHUD. The mod is developed by Gopher, is his mod developing name, and the individual that runs the GopherVids channel, one of my favorite YouTubers of all time, and he's one of the best modders that I've ever come across. And his mod iHUD actually allows you to bring up your HUD and then put it back down and appear and disappear. And the reason that's important, or the reason that I enjoy this mod, is actually I think it adds a more cinematic feeling to the game when you're playing Fallout New Vegas, especially when you're just wandering the wastes and you're not in any real combat. And you may be wondering how to adjust the settings of the iHUD, and that's what we're going to get into right now. Well, actually, that's the third thing. Secondly, you might notice that my HP bar and my AP bar look a little bit different than normal. They look a lot smaller. And the fact of the matter is, at least in my opinion, in Fallout New Vegas on the PS3 and the Xbox, on the consoles, the GUI, the graphical user interface, it's late and I'm recording this, I apologize, but I couldn't sleep, so I figured I'd just do some recording and have some fun. So the graphical user interface for the console is absolutely fine. They're the perfect size. For the size of the TV that you're probably playing on, they need to be larger, at least your HP and your AP bars. But otherwise, on a computer screen, which probably isn't close to 40-50 inches, I believe that they're a little obnoxious, and they're a little bit larger than they need to be. And that's what the Darnified UI intends to do, is actually completely revamps all of the text in the game, all of the fonts, making them all a lot smaller, all a lot easier to handle, and then just more convenient looking. I remember bringing up last time how when I was using MTUI, this display screen was the entire screen, and it was actually general subtitles was cut off here at the bottom. But you can see now that with Darnified UI installed, that instead of it being this entire screen and general subtitles being cut off here at the bottom, it's all tightly packed here in a font that's honestly a lot easier to read than the giant text. It's not nearly as painful. So this brings us to our final mods. Most of the mods in this episode that we're going to be covering are actually going to be here in our mod configuration menu. So far we've gone over iHUD right here. I'll explain some more of that later. We've gone over Darnified UI. You can see the fonts there. And next we're going to go over the mod configuration menu. So all these mods do require New Vegas script extender. And the mod configuration menu is literally a configuration menu for your mods. Now, on the side here, you can see all the mods that I have installed that I'm going to be going over today. And the one that we're going to start with is Immersive HUD, so the one that I mentioned previously. And iHUD other mods. It's actually, that's actually an accident, so we're not going to pay attention to that right there. Apparently, Project Nevada, another giant mod that I'll be covering later, which will probably be its own episode, it's so large. For some reason, the ESM is installed on my game and is ticked, and that doesn't make any sense. So I apologize for that. So just know that when you install Immersive HUD, this iHUD other mods will not appear. So we're going to start off going over Immersive HUD. So when you click it in the mod configuration menu, it'll bring down these sub-menus. And starting with General, you're going to see the HUD activation key. The default activation key is I, and you can press any key that you want to change that command, but I'm going to keep it as I. And you also have the iHUD controlled sneak meter. When enabled, iHUD can hide the sneak meter. So I actually prefer it being on because I like my sneaking to be more immersive, and immersive sneaking will be we'll be talking about that later when we get into game settings tuner. So you can have the fade away on toggle. So if you set it for a certain amount of seconds, like 5 seconds or 4 seconds, and you press I, instead of it disappearing immediately, like if it were set at 0, it would take 4 seconds to disappear. This is fade away automatic. Sets the time taken before the general HUD elements fade away after being activated by an automatic process. 0 means it never fades. Note, many elements have their own fade times that override this value. And we'll be going into their own fade times later on when we get into these more specifically. Fade away target info, exact same thing with automatic, only this deals with target info when you're targeting NPCs. Screenshot mode, you can use screenshot mode, but I don't recommend it. It doesn't make much sense, at least in my opinion. There's much easier ways to disable your HUD than going into a menu to do this, and I'll show you a console command for that later on if you or I'll just show you guys regardless how to turn off your HUD. So, and then this is the screenshot mode activates after so many seconds. So that's just the general, but we're gonna get into hit points. So my hit points bar is, you guys know, is down here. Oh, and this little face down here I forgot to mention is that mentions the Darnified UI version that you're actually using. So version 0.0.2 is the most recent version, and at this point has no bugs as far as I'm concerned, and the extensive amount of time that I've played with it. But back to immersive HUD. So move on to hit points, and each one of these is a marker, and you can set multiple of them, except always on. You can see that when you select always on, it grays out the rest of the options, because if you have your hit points to be set to always on, then whether or not you're in combat doesn't actually matter in terms of whether or not your HUD's going to appear. So I like to set most of my settings right here to activate on combat. So this means that my HUD, for all intents and purposes, will be hidden whenever I am not in combat. And let's see if we can engage ourselves in some combat here. Well, that's definitely going to get us some combat. See? Combat. So, activate on combat, or we can activate when the weapon is out. So this means that if my weapon is not sheathed, so my gun is not behind my back, my HUD will appear, or at least my hit points will. These are those fading. These are the fading animations that I was talking about that overrides your fade automatic and your fade toggle and stuff like that. So, and then you can activate with the right mouse button. So this basically entails whenever I have my weapon sheathed and I press right click to kind of zoom in, or if I have my weapon out and I pull up into my iron sights, this means that my hit points will appear. Or I can have it activate when my health drops to 50%. So that says seconds, but just know that this is a percentage. So as soon as my health reaches, I'm going to actually set it to 25%, then I know for a fact that it'll pop up. And I can set this to fade away after I exit combat after 6 seconds. So once I leave combat, after 6 seconds, it'll disappear, unless my health is below 20 seconds. So just know that this setting right here lets you know that regardless of whether or not you're in combat or not, or any of the rest of these are ticked, as long as your health is below this designated value, your hit points will show. And if you want to get rid of it altogether, you can just set your health to 0. But I would recommend keeping it on, because it's a helpful reminder when your health does reach below 25% or 25% or below that you need to find some healing. So now we're going to go over to the compass. Now with the default compass app, this actually won't be usable. You can see, or I'm sorry, not with the default immersive HUD, not app but mod, you can see that when you click compass, the option is not available and you need a HUD. So I'll actually go over a HUD later. And speaking of this now, I might actually go over all of Gopher's HUD mods, because they're actually all, maybe I'll make that into its own episode. But now we're going to go into action points, and so HP or health points are over here, or my health points are my hit points in this game, and my AP or my action points are in this corner. And you can see that right now most of the settings are almost completely the same as the hit points. One of the differences being this right here, activate when using action points. So and the nice thing is this applies for anything. So if you have a sprint mod and you're using action points to sprint, your AP comes up. If you have a bullet time mod and you're using bullet time and it's consuming your AP, then your action points will be displayed. And fade away after 6 seconds. I would recommend keeping these the same, just because aesthetically it's more pleasing to me. I like them seeing both disappear at the exact same time. But if you want to set them to different seconds, you can. So on to ammo and the condition of your weapon. Once again, you need a HUD for this. And then you can go onto your crosshairs. So I'm going to keep those the same, actually, and onto your crosshairs. Now, I personally don't like to keep activate when my weapon is out. The reason that is because if I'm going for a more cinematic feel and I'm in first person mode or third person, if all my HUD is gone except for my crosshair, it kind of breaks the immersion for me. So I actually take this off and I set it to activate on combat. So if I'm just walking through the desert and all of a sudden my crosshair pops up, I know that most likely I'm in combat. You can also set it activate with the right mouse. So if you're not in combat, but if you pull up to your sights in third person mode, you will see your crosshairs, and you can also activate on target. And that just means if you have your cursor where your cursor would be, hover over an object, like to pick it up, press E to pick up or something like that, or E to interact, your cursor or your crosshair, I'm sorry, will appear. And this fadeaway is set to 2 seconds, so it's much more quick. But I like keeping it at 2 opposed to the 6 like the rest of them, because the crosshair, in my opinion, is something that needs to be there and out of the way, since it's in your direct line of sight when you're looking straight forward. So just now down to iHUD other mods, just know that that won't be there. Now we're going to go over game settings. And game settings tuner is one of my favorite mods by far, because what it basically does is a compilation of a lot of other mods that are offered on the Nexus, but it packs them all together. Now that's not the purpose of the mod. If you go on the page on the Nexus, it's not going to say this is a compilation of a bunch of mods. Know that it's not that. This is its own mod, but it deals with a couple subjects like perks, how many levels it takes to acquire perks and stuff like that, that other mods handle, but it does this for a couple things. So first of all, you just click the game settings, and unlike the iHUD, this game settings, just clicking it does bring up options. So you can have your save preset and the current preset. So my current preset is just the one that I have installed. And I don't plan on ever making multiple presets, but you could with if you had different game modes or different things that you wanted to play with one character, I suppose. So then you have update settings, and this is I'm not going to go into update settings. Just leave this default. Okay, that's what matters. There's another mod that handles this and update settings and frequency of zoning and stuff like that, but we'll go over that later. So we're going to hop right down to general. And the nice thing with this mod is most level caps will keep your level cap at 50 or something like that. This allows you to set your level cap to 100. And your leveling rate is how quickly you level up. So if you set it to 30%, just imagine that you are leveling up at 30% of the rate that you normally would. 100 is default, so that's the level that you are normally going to level. And 175% is 75% faster. So I like that, keeping that on with 100 levels, because I personally like having a huge level cap because I can play for days. And when I do that, I'm going to get tons of perks. And with the perk mods that I'll be going over later, leveling up constantly is a fun way to keep things interactive and to diversify your character with different mods. or different perks, I apologize. So this is your perk rate, and this is what I was talking about, and you basically have set it 1, 2, and 3. So basically what this means is the default is 2 for Fallout New Vegas, and you reach level 1, you get a perk, level 2 you don't, and then level 3 you get a perk. That's the way that the leveling works. So you could change this. So every 3 levels you get a perk, or every level, set it to 1 every level you get a perk. And with the perk mods that I'm going to have install, or not install, but I'm going to review, you'll probably have close to, I don't know, hundreds more perks. So setting it to 1 will actually make things more interesting. You could also adjust your movement speed here. This is literally just how quickly your character moves. So now you can deal with your skill rate. And this right here is how many skills, or this does with deals with your skill menu. So your intelligence bonus matters because your intelligence bonus actually affects how many skill points you're going to receive at level up. The default is 0.5, but with 1 you'll almost receive double the amount of skill points that skill points that you normally would. There we go. I apologize. And then your take skill multiplier 1 or 2, and that basically means that if you have guns ticked as your tag skill and you set this to 1, every 1 point that you put in there will increase its level by 1. So 51, 52, 53. If you set the take skill multiplier to 2, if you set and you had guns ticked and it's at 50, then putting 1 point in there will raise the skill to 52. So I'm also going to introduce us to a mod later on that allows your skills to go over 100. So setting it to 2 will allow you to level up your skills much more quickly, but it could be considered detrimental if you have a level cap of 100. Setting your skills or your take multipliers to 2 and having them be level 100 within the first couple levels is, I don't want to say it's ridiculous, but it's kind of game breaking if you're walking around Good Springs for the first 45 minutes of the game, and already your gun skill is at level 50. You're just going to be murdering everything, and it kind of breaks the game, but depending on the difficulty that you're also playing at, this could be necessary. And having this take skill multiplier set to 2 also helps with your pickpocketing and with your science skill, because those are virtually useless, except when it comes to crafting and science, but it's virtually useless if you're going to try and level up your lockpicking, and you can't go from 25 to 50. All of us have played Fallout New Vegas, and we've been that 1 or 2 points away from reaching that level 50, and you realize that every single lock container that you're going to come across that is a 50, you're 1 or 2 points away from getting. And maybe you have some mentats, or maybe you have a skill book or something like that to read, but changing the take skill multiplier to 2 and then setting those as your tags actually makes that leveling up of those skills a lot less painful. So then we go down to our hit points, and excuse me guys, sorry about that, I was just getting a drink of water. I was quite thirsty. So now we're going to go down to our hit points. Got more water. Very thirsty. And this is your hit points, is also your HP. That's what's down in the corner right here. And this is important because the base is 5. So this is your starting hit points that every character is going to start with, and your endurance bonus of 20. Now there's an equation that goes into calculating your skill or your hit points. And there's also an equation that goes into calculating your carry weight. I'm not going to go over them here because this just allows you to adjust them. You guys can play with this. Caters to your character's needs. I would recommend keeping these at their base values. If you want to increase them, though, I would recommend increasing the bonuses instead of the base weights. So if you would like to know the equations, though, just leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will then put the equations in the description. And if you guys are interested, that will allow you to build some very, very, very tailored characters, tailored to very specific things. And action points also falls in line with this carry weight bonus. This is the base that you start at. If you wanted to increase any one of these, I would actually increase the action points, because having AP points of around 97 is very high in Fallout New Vegas, and they're actually far more useful than you would imagine. Pulling into VATS and stuff like that as soon as you get to higher levels, and making contact with bullets in that bonus to damage that you get in VATS, and the reduction to damage is important when you get into higher levels, and having a very low AP can actually hurt you quite a bit. So if you're gonna up anything, up your action points right here. But you know, I wouldn't recommend setting it to 1,000,000. So this is just your messages right here. You can set your messages to on, messages that you're going to get up here, messages you're going to get here. Or, I'm sorry, sneak. Sneak. This is messages. Your sneak message, like, hey, you're sneaking. And this is your difficulty, like, hey, you're sneaking easy. Or you're sneaking moderately or hard. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. What this difficulty actually is the difficulty to sneak past NPCs and to actually engage in sneak mode, so you won't be detected. So you actually entered a hidden state. So hard, they're going to be very, what you can imagine is observant. Very easy, and they're just going to be completely oblivious to your being there. Okay, so combat, I'm just going to let you guys go over this real quick, because most of these settings I'm going to recommend you keep on default. All of these are tailored to a vanilla Fallout experience, which is what you probably want to stick with. If you want to change combat in any way, shape, or form, I would recommend downloading a separate mod for that, and then putting it lower on your load order than the combat settings, because these are some relatively specific things to change in the Fallout game, and if you don't know what you're doing with them, you could potentially damage your game. So if I was I'll actually go over these things right here though. This is your spread during VATS, so your weapon spread, and this is your damage taking during VATS. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I was going over general, is this is that reduction. So you only take 75% of damage that you would normally take in VATS, opposed to if you were getting hit with those bullets outside of VATS. And the second thing that I'm going to go over here in this section is the enemies. And the enemy toughness just covers very weak, moderate, tougher, and toughest, and that's how good of shots they are, that's how much HP they have. So setting the enemy toughness to toughest, and then playing on the very hard difficulty, I can imagine would be a very difficult game to play. And enemy II, you can change this, so this is of course the artificial intelligence of the NPCs. I would keep this at very easy, because that is the default, and it is experimental, so changing this could potentially damage your game. So immersion is where I like to spend a lot of my time, and this is going to allow you to set individual timescales based on your location in the game. So hold on, more water. Water, it's yummy. This will allow you to independently determine your timescales. So basically what that means is every 1 minute in real life to how many minutes in game that you're going to spend. So right now each one of those is set to a default of 30. So just know that when you're inside, when you're outside, or in combat, 1 minute inside is equivalent to, or 1 minute inside in real life is equivalent to 30 minutes in game. So you walk out in the exterior for 1 minute, that's 30 minutes in the game. And I like to set these differently. I personally like to set mine to 1 for interior. So if I spend 30 minutes in game in a casino, then, or 30 minutes real life in a casino, then I spend 30 minutes in game in a casino. Because when I walk out of that casino, after 15 minutes of playing in it, I don't want to walk out at 12 o'clock at night. The exterior, I actually decrease to 15. I like to have that just because that's my personal preference and how I see the sun pass in the day as I'm traveling. Now in combat, I like to imagine that if this were real life and I were in combat, time would feel like if it was racing by, just because of the trauma that you're experiencing and you know, the fright of actually being in combat and the adrenaline that you're going to be feeling. If you were actually taking cover behind a rock, it might be much longer than you would expect, but I also like to think that combat in this game should actually make time pass a little bit more quickly. That's just my personal preference. Some people might set it to 1, just like I did my interior, but it's all up to them. So I set mine to 45. Miscellaneous respawn timer is how many days before inventories and NPCs respawn, and I always set mine to 1 day, just because I like constantly getting new shipments of stuff at stores. Karma messages I turn to off because I don't want to constantly hear about taking that one thing that nobody cared about that they once owned was bad and made me a difficult person to live with in this waste. And when I say waste, I mean wasteland. And under miscellaneous, barter is the difficulty of the trade, and I always set that to fair deal. You can also do harsh traders, which would make for a very difficult wasteland if you want to play an extreme version of Fallout New Vegas. Succor, dismemberment chance, and explode chance, very straightforward. And these are the ragdoll physics, which there are equations for those too, and I'll explain those in another video if you want me to, and I'll go over all ragdoll physics, but for now you can just set those as default, or that's my at least recommendation. And then last but not least, under game settings, we're going to go over the general or features. I apologize, Jesus. Oh, it's way too late, but I'm having fun anyway. Okay, so loot, rarity, ammo, chem, food, miscellaneous. That's very straightforward. This is what you are going to find in random containers that are set to randomly spawn something. So this also has to do with the rarity of them. So you're much more likely to find rare ammo loot, and much more of it, if you set your spawn chance to 175%, opposed to just 100, which is the default. So imagine that finding 1 can of food that gives you, I don't know, or that subtracts 15 food. So you take it, and your food meter in hardcore mode goes down by 15. So if you set it to 175, you're much more likely to find something that'll decrease it by 25 or maybe 30. So I like setting these all to 175% because I love rare loot. I love looting. Inventory, I always turn my inventory sorter on. I'll show you that in a second. Rebalance weight, I always keep off. Respawn notifications, I also keep off. This respawn notification is that goes back to the immersion back here, the respawn timer. That feature is, you know, oh, the vendor's things have respawned now, right here. And this equipped armor thing is actually quite interesting. So the equipped armor, normally the armor that you're wearing, if it weighs 15 in-game, you know, pounds or grams, whatever you want to call it, weighs 15. So that's disabled. You could have it weigh half. So if it was 15 before, and then you equip it, it now weighs 7.5. So I always imagine that I keep my my armor and stuff like that to weighs half. Because if I was wearing something else and carrying it in my backpack, it might be heavier opposed to actually just wearing it. Chase cam, I always set to far. Vanity cam, I always set to fast. Your vanity cam is how quickly you turn around yourself. The chase cam is how close you get to yourself when you zoom in and out in third person mode. And the kill cam, I always keep to normal. But you can see that you can change these all in the game settings tuner. So it's a very helpful mod, but I'm going to let you guys know something right now, and I hope you've made it to this part of the video, because if you installed this and then left and didn't pay attention to what I'm about to say right now, you're going to have grievances. If you install this and start a new character, and it is on while you're starting that new character, as soon as you leave Doc Mitchell's house, your game will crash. I don't know why. It's a scripting confliction, and there's errors that happen. And there's just huge conflictions with New Vegas Script Extender, with the game settings tuner, and the script that takes place when leaving Doc Mitchell's house. And that confliction is so detrimental to your game that it actually causes it to crash, and it will crash every time. So what you can do is install it using the Nexus Mod Manager, then go into your plugins file and uncheck the plugin. Create your character, leave Doc Mitchell's. You can literally stand on the porch after leaving his place. You can literally leave, and it'll flash up, play the music, Fallout New Vegas, and then you could press escape. You can save your game, turn this on, and load right back in. You will be fine. It is the loading screen and the scripting that takes place between those 2 points in time that actually causes it to crash. So be aware of that if you want to install this. So this is Chasm. And this is basically an autosave mechanism for Fallout New Vegas, which I absolutely love. Hold on, some more water. It's really hot here. Hold on, more water. Alright, I'm good now. So, this chasm basically has multiple profiles that you can set. Profile 1, profile ability. If you have multiple characters, you're going to set multiple profiles and stuff like that. Your max save count is how many of these autosaves it's going to make. So, under your this is your show message under quick save settings, and this is whether or not it says Chasm is saving up here. And I always turn that to off because I don't want to know if you're saving, Chasm. I trust you, Chasm. You're good. I trust you. You're not going to lie to me. You're not going to pretend to save. That's bad. This remaps your quick save hotkey to F4, which is the default for Chasm, and it's also the default if you had Chasm installed for Fallout 3. The basic vanilla game quick save is actually F5, so this just remaps it. And it remaps it to something more accessible opposed to F5. S5 you have to reach up a little bit, opposed to F4, which you can just reach up and hit as easily if you're hitting 5. Quick save settings. I'm gonna hit F4. Chasm, I know you're saving. I don't care about that. Auto save settings. Once again, Chasm, I trust you. The auto save settings set to yes is just Chasm is saving. So we don't need to know that that's on. That's not quite important. And I apologize, more water. And these are your settings right here for auto saving. You can have it save while sneaking, save with weapon out. Now your minimum health percentage is I didn't think I need to go over save interval, but for those of you that were wondering, you're like, hey, you skipped it. You went so message while sneaky, or excuse me, save interval 5 minutes. Save interval is just Chasm will save every 5 minutes. That's what save interval means, you silly goose. Minimum health percentage. So this is the health percentage that you'll spawn with upon loading one of Chasm's autosaves. So if you had 10% health when it saved because you were in combat, because you have it set to save in combat, when you reload that save, you'll instead have 20% health, because that's the way Chasm works, because Chasm doesn't want you to spawn with 0% health, because that would really suck. You actually can't even set it to 0% health. I would recommend keeping it at 20. Now these are event save settings. This means Chasm will save on you completing a quest, save on you leaving combat, save on you sucking dick, save on you discovering locations, saving on you leveling up, and saving on you leveling up. And I already said that. Sorry, the last one says paying off your mortgage. So as soon as you pay off your mortgage, Chasm saves for you, regardless of whether or not you're playing Fallout New Vegas. So congratulations. Now, this is the weapon mod menu, and you might all be wondering, since we just finished Chasm so quickly, what the weapon mod menu does, and this is even shorter than Chasm. We're going to go over it quickly. So, reverse mouse buttons, doesn't matter. For all of you lefties, take time to read this. All weapon mods visible is important. Keep that checked. Alrighty. All of us have been sitting back and thought to ourselves, I really want to put a scope on the trail carbine because I need to do some sniping. But seconds later, you want to take it off because it's a nuisance when you're in close quarters combat, because you actually prefer the rail sights of the trail carbine. This allows you to change that. So the weapon modification menu actually allows you to install a mod, scope, and then it allows you to uninstall that mod. And the reason that this is important is for, well, what I just mentioned before. Sometimes you want to mod a weapon for situation specific, or for a specific purpose when you're in a specific type of environment. And maybe you want a scope, maybe you don't. With this, you can either have one or not have one. And you can also do that. It's extremely handy with the Cowboy Repeater because it has so many mods. Now I have all the mods for the Cowboy Repeater installed. And he exploded. Oh, but my weapon is too overpowered. I'll just uninstall all of these. And that right there, friends, is the weapon mod menu. And it is quite handy. attention to how terrible of a shot I am. Oh, shot his head right off. Goodbye, head. So everybody, that was the mods that I was going to be covering for this episode. I hope you enjoyed most of it, and I hope a lot of you weren't too bored because we were spending time in the weapon mod configuration, or the weapon configuration. Jesus Christ, I'm having problems speaking because my brain's off because it's late. I hope most of you weren't bored for spending time in the mod configuration menu, but it's an important place to spend our time because it allows us to customize our game to our liking in ways that wasn't possible before, ways that, yeah, we know, or in ways that in Fallout 3 was a nuisance because you had to use a whole bunch of crazy menus through your apparel and through your aids tabs. So I hope you all enjoyed the episode. If you guys like one of the mods that I displayed here today, or you've known about it but you just enjoy playing with it, or maybe you hate the mod. You see, I don't have a HUD like right now. You like that because it's cinematic. Maybe you don't like a mod. Maybe you liked it. Regardless, leave a like and a comment. I always appreciate that. Favorite. Add it to your watch later. If you want to watch this later and you don't have the time to watch it, subscribe or share this with your friends. Getting my name out there really helps, guys. So I hope you guys like the episode. I'll have all the links to the mods that I covered in this episode down in the description below. And I will see you sexy motherfuckers in the future.